Hungry Komodo Incident. On June 4th, 2007, in the village of Komodo, Indonesia, 8-year-old Mansour was playing with friends near his home. The island was in the middle of the dry season. Water sources had shrunk. Vegetation was sparse. The animals Komodo dragons normally hunted were becoming harder to find. Komodo dragons are the largest lizards on Earth. They can grow over 10 feet long and weigh more than 150 pounds. They are ambush predators, using sharp serrated teeth and powerful jaws to tear apart their prey. That afternoon, Mansour wandered away from his friends. He stepped behind a bush to relieve himself. Hidden in the dry bush nearby, a Komodo dragon was waiting. The animal suddenly lunged forward. It knocked the boy to the ground. Its teeth sank into his body. He screamed as the dragon clawed and bit him repeatedly. Villagers heard his cries and ran toward the sound. They found the massive reptile on top of him, tearing into his small body. Men struck the dragon with sticks and threw rocks to force it away. After several moments, the dragon released him and retreated into the bush. The boy was still alive, but his injuries were severe. Deep wounds covered his body. He had lost a large amount of blood. Villagers carried him toward the harbor, hoping to reach medical help, but the nearest clinic was too far away. He died before reaching treatment. Authorities confirmed the attack was caused by a wild Komodo dragon. Biologists believed the dry season and lack of prey had driven the animal closer to human settlements. It was the first fatal Komodo dragon attack on a human in over 3 decades. After the incident, officials warned residents and visitors never to walk alone on the island. The Arrow Incident. On September 10, 2020, in the remote forests of Rondônia, Brazil, 56-year-old Riele Franciscato was on patrol with a small team of police officers and indigenous scouts. Franciscato had worked for Brazil's Indigenous Affairs Agency for more than 30 years. His job was to protect uncontacted tribes living deep in the Amazon. These tribes avoided all contact with the outside world. They often saw outsiders as threats. That morning, reports indicated that members of an isolated tribe had been spotted near the edge of the Uru Reserve. Franciscato's mission was to observe from a distance and ensure their territory remained secure. His team moved slowly through the dense forest. They listened for movement. They avoided making noise. Then, without warning, an arrow flew from the trees. It struck Franciscato in the chest. The arrow pierced just above his heart. He staggered backward and cried out help, and collapsed to the ground. His team rushed to help him, but the wound was fatal. He died within minutes. The attacker was never seen clearly. The tribe member disappeared back into the forest. Authorities believe the arrow was fired by a member of the isolated group. These tribes often defend their territory aggressively, fearing violence, disease, or displacement from outsiders. Franciscato had spent his entire career protecting these tribes from harm. He believed isolation was the best way to preserve their survival. His death shocked Brazil and the international community. He was killed by the very people he had dedicated his life to protecting. Cayman Happy Meal. On July 23, 2010, in Rondônia, deep within the western frontier of Brazil, the afternoon felt ordinary. Children laughed along the muddy banks of a slow, wide river connected to the vast Amazon River basin. The air was thick and heavy. The water looked calm, harmless. But calm water in the Amazon is often a lie. Beneath the surface waited a black caiman, Melanosuchus niger, the largest predator in South America's freshwater ecosystems. Silent, invisible, perfectly still. An 11-year-old child stepped closer to the edge. One step too close. Without warning, the river exploded. A massive body surged upward with violent force, over 13 feet of muscle and armor. Its jaws snapped shut in less than a second, teeth designed to pierce bone locking into their target. There was no struggle, only the sound of water collapsing inward as the predator twisted and vanished. The river swallowed everything. Screams erupted from the shoreline as villagers ran toward the water, shouting and throwing sticks, desperate to interrupt a process already complete. But the caiman was gone, and the river was calm again. No blood. No movement, only ripples fading into silence. The black caiman does not chase. It waits, it calculates, and when it strikes, it ends the outcome immediately. Its bite force is capable of crushing skulls, and its death roll is designed to dismantle prey in seconds. Against an adult, survival is unlikely. Against a child, survival is impossible. When the body was later recovered, medical researchers documented the injuries in detail, the bite patterns, the crushing trauma, the speed of fatal damage. The case became one of the rare confirmed fatal black caiman attacks ever formally recorded. Not because attacks never happen, but because witnesses rarely survive to describe them. For the village, the science didn't matter. The loss changed everything. Parents no longer allowed their children near the water. Fishing routines were altered. Vegetation was cleared to improve visibility. New informal boundaries formed between safety and death, because now they understood something they had always lived beside. The river was never empty. They had simply never seen what was watching. Crocodile lunch break. On December 7, 2010, South African explorer Hendrik Coetzee was leading two American kayakers down the Lukuga River in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Coetzee was one of Africa's most experienced river explorers. He had previously completed expeditions along the full length of the Nile River and navigated remote waterways few people had ever seen. That morning, the river appeared calm. The surface was smooth. Tall reeds and dense vegetation lined both banks. The group knew the river contained Nile crocodiles. These predators can grow over 16 feet long and weigh more than half a ton. They often remain hidden beneath the surface, waiting for prey to approach. As the kayaks drifted downstream, Coetzee was in the lead. Without warning, a massive crocodile burst from the water. It slammed into his kayak. The impact knocked him off balance. The crocodile seized him in its jaws and dragged him into the river. His companions, Ben Stooksbury and Chris Korbelik, watched in shock. The attack happened in seconds. The water closed over him, and he disappeared beneath the surface. He never resurfaced. The two men waited, hoping he would emerge, but the river remained silent. They later paddled to shore and reported the attack. Authorities confirmed that a Nile crocodile was responsible. These animals are ambush predators. Once they secure their prey, they drag the victim underwater to drown them. Coetzee's body was never recovered. The death shocked the exploration community. One of the world's most experienced river guides had been killed instantly in a river he knew well. The Piranha Buffet. On December 3, 2011, in the small Bolivian town of Rosario del Llata, an 18-year-old man walked along the muddy banks of a swollen river after a night of heavy drinking. The river had risen from recent rains. Its current was stronger than usual. Beneath the dark surface swam schools of piranhas. Despite warnings from his friends, the young man jumped into the water. At first, it seemed like a drunken stunt. He splashed and laughed as he waded farther from shore. Then, within seconds, his behavior changed. He began thrashing violently. He started screaming. Villagers on the riverbank saw the water erupt around him. The surface churned as dozens of fish attacked his body. Piranhas are small freshwater predators with razor-sharp teeth designed to tear flesh. They rarely attack humans, but when triggered by movement, blood, or vulnerability, they can swarm in large numbers. His friends rushed into the water and dragged him back to shore. His body was covered in deep wounds. Flesh had been torn from his arms, legs, and torso. Blood poured from dozens of bites. He died within minutes from blood loss. Police later confirmed that alcohol had played a major role. His intoxicated state had impaired his judgment and slowed his reaction as the attack began. Authorities ruled the death an accidental drowning and animal attack. The incident made international headlines, reinforcing the deadly reputation of piranhas. Biologists emphasized that such attacks are extremely rare. Most piranhas feed on fish, insects, and dead animals. But in this case, alcohol, rising waters, and a single reckless decision proved fatal. Jaguar incident. On September 1, 2014, in the remote Rupununi Savannah, where endless grasslands collide with the dense rainforests of Guyana, the land was quiet, too quiet. Villagers moved carefully through the bush, collecting firewood and searching for food. Above them, the canopy blocked most of the sunlight. Below, tangled roots and thick undergrowth created perfect concealment. This was jaguar territory. The jaguar, Panthera onca, is South America's most powerful land predator. Unlike other big cats, it does not rely on suffocation. It kills with crushing force. Its jaws are strong enough to pierce directly through skull and bone. Usually, it hunts deer, capybara, and peccaries. That day, a middle-aged man walked alone into the forest. He never returned. As daylight faded, villagers organized a search party. They followed his path into the dense vegetation, calling his name, listening, hoping for an answer. Instead, they found signs of violence. Broken branches, blood staining the leaves, deep claw marks carved into the soil. The forest itself told the story. Hours later, they found his body, partially consumed, mauled with precision. Not chaotic, not random, calculated. Tracks in the mud confirmed what they already feared. A jaguar had done this. Wildlife officials later examined the scene. They concluded the animal was likely older, possibly injured, no longer capable of easily catching its natural prey. So it adapted. It chose a slower target. A human walking alone. A jaguar does not warn. It does not roar before attacking. It closes distance silently. Then it strikes from behind, using explosive force and a skull-piercing bite designed to shut down the nervous system instantly. In dense jungle, there is no time to react, no time to run. For the village, the attack changed daily life overnight. Children were kept indoors. Hunters refused to travel alone. Every sound in the forest became a potential threat. Eventually, authorities tracked the jaguar responsible. When it later charged another group of men, they killed it. But removing the predator did not remove the fear, because the forest was still there. And somewhere beyond the tree line, other eyes were still watching.